Hey guys, Zach here. I know it's called football. Just joining you after a kind of week hiatus. I was away on holiday. I was at a wedding with my girlfriend. I still am somewhat hungover. hungover. But look, I'm here to talk about the two games that the U.S. men's team played over the past couple days or so against Jamaica, which of course we won. Pretty comfortable game. And then of course the loss that we had against Panama. Just clicking here, looking at a few things. Excuse me for doing that. One moment. Yeah, so there's really not too much to touch on with the game against Jamaica. I mean, we looked really comfortable. I think the lineup was pretty much what people had predicted, or at least were excited to see. I think when it comes to your strongest team. There's players in there. Miles Robinson, I've always said I think he's probably our best defender, at least in form as of now, and that's going back to the summer. He was a big part of those two trophies that we won, and I thought he was obviously huge in the Gold Cup final. Despite scoring the goal, I thought he was man of the match for that game. But Matt Turner, no surprise, he's back in goal. He's looking good. In fact, he looked pretty good against Panama. There was only so much he could do, with the goal. Obviously, it's something I'll get into a bit later on, when we get to talking about that game. But just a little bit more about Jamaica. Those two players that I mentioned, those are the ones you want to see. Anthony Robinson, of course, I think, no doubt the best left back that we have. Quite a big George Bello fan, but again, we'll be able to talk about that a bit later on. Missing the likes of Pulisic and Reyna, obviously not great. Ricardo Pepi up front, of course, that's the player you want to see. Banging forms, just playing for fun. I mean, he scored both our goals against Jamaica, and they were both clinical finishes, clinical goals. A real striker, a real just kind of, as they say, fox in the box, knows where to be, and you can't really teach that. So, having him not play against Panama, I knew it would happen. I knew Berhalter was going to make changes, but let me not get into it too much just yet. I do want to say though, another player, of course, Brendan Aronson played against Jamaica and looked good. God, it's so nauseating to kind of have this feeling in the back of your head that, that Berhalter was going to make changes. So you knew the changes were coming. You didn't quite know what would happen. Obviously players are going to be rotated, and you want to save tired legs and whatever it may be. But they looked so comfortable that game. It didn't. I was kind of fighting with myself, thinking, is he going to make that many changes? It didn't seem like it would be that necessary. Some players were subbed off. I know Pepe went. In fact, no, he didn't go the 90 minutes, excuse me. But there are obviously, of course, some players that went the 90. Excuse me. McKinney, of course, went the full 90. Weston McKinney. And he just seeing that performance that he had against, of course, it's a pretty poor Jamaica side. They I think have yet to win a game. Let me just pull that up here. They haven't won a game yet. They lost 3, drawn 2. So like I've said before, it was a comfortable game, obviously, but we didn't see him. We didn't see him start. It was just so shocking. Sorry, I'm just clicking through some things here. Just going through the lineups, and let me just get into it. Obviously, let me mention here, of course, Serginho Dest. I thought played well against Jamaica, of course. All right, let's just get into the Panama game. I have some stats here, of course, I want to go over. There's a bunch to talk about. Jesus Christ, I don't know where to start, so I'll just start naming off players. George Bello, of course, at left back. Look, there's been some sparks that I've seen. Of course, he's a young player. He's new to the side. He's new to international football, and there's a lot to learn there. Of course, I think one of the mistakes he had against I can't quite remember the game, but it was his man to mark that we conceded a goal. I'm trying to think now. Excuse me, for what the game was. I can't quite remember. Excuse me. I think it was Canada. In fact, it was Canada. That draw we had. It was kind of up to him really. Lost his man, and they scored that goal. But look, at the end of the day, man, we should be putting out a starting 11 that's capable of beating Panama. Excuse me, I'm just gonna take a drink here. Of beating this Panama side. They're not the best side. They're sort of all over the place, up and down form. They've only lost one game, but they drew to Costa Rica. Yet they also blew past Jamaica. I thought they had a pretty impressive draw against Mexico, in fact, and then they lost to El Salvador. And so you're thinking, okay, they're somewhat along the lines that the U.S., because the U.S. are struggling a little bit, and I think honestly the U.S. The players just got ahead of themselves during that Jamaica game, and they were so comfortable and so content with how they played. I think the players who were thrown in, those 7 changes that were made, they just look. It can be down to a few things. The changes you make 7 changes to any team. The players are not really gonna mesh as well as they would normally with a couple changes, and you can talk about 5 substitutions being allowed and how that changes the game, but it's a lot different. The dynamic is much different when the game's already going and you're already adapting to how the game is going. You have to make changes, and how often do we see players coming on, pointing, and the formation is shifting, the formation is changing, players might be dropping back, or so and so might be moving forward, etc. So it was just a complete disaster, and Berhalter got it wrong, and I think he said that, and he came out and said it. He didn't fully admit to it. He said, it was some kind of bullshit quote. If I got it wrong, then I'll admit to that, or something along those lines. Look, I don't want to make this video too long. I'm going to try to just go through some things quickly. Of course, I'm sure you all are aware of the quote from Clint Dempsey. I'll just read it here. He goes, "I don't think any one of them showed that they should be in the starting 11." Of course, he's talking about the 7 players that were rotated into the starting 11 against Panama. Dude, it's really frustrating. I'm a big Kellyn Acosta fan. I thought he had a really good summer with us. I think since the World Cup qualifying has started, he hasn't quite reached the heights. I mean, the game he played against Mexico, he was all over the place. He was everything he did was perfect. Tackling, the way he broke up the play, it was all really good. Look, Zardes, I really, really don't want to see this guy playing for at least right now in World Cup qualifiers. I think he's the type of MLS player that sort of give this U.S. men's team, a bad name, and he's seems to just be stuck in that MLS form. And of course, there's quality in the MLS. Of course, there is. Ricardo Pepi is a great example of that. A young player, a player who's coming up, and there's a lot of players I don't know because I'll say personally I don't typically watch the MLS, honestly. So, but over the years, especially the last 4 years, when we saw a lot of American players still playing in the U.S., still playing in the MLS, we have to move past this. I think you can have some players that are there, of course, that play there. Of course, you have to, but the quality has to match that of those players who are playing in Europe. Christian Pulisic is probably one of our, if not the best player that we have. Weston McKennie, of course. You have to mention him. You have to mention Tyler Adams, who I thought when he came on did all right. Sloppy, gave the ball away a few times. Brendan Aronson was really good against Jamaica. Came on. They made a difference, but it just wasn't enough at the end of the day. And again, another MLS player, Matt Turner, who obviously has a different role as a goalkeeper, quite a unique role. He saved us from a really humiliating, deficit. I mean, a couple really good saves. I think even the one that the player was offsides on, it was a great save that he made, and a lot of praise I think needs to go to him. But you look at and you talk about senior players on this team. It's a team of very young players. A lot of these players have just made their competitive debuts for World Cup qualifying. Musa, of course, is one of them. Timothy Weah, of course, is another who I thought was pretty disappointing, I'll have to say, although I don't quite see him. I would much prefer him to play through the middle than be out on the left. But that's just me. And honestly, I can't say I watch much of his games at Lille, so I don't know quite where he works. I know him and Jonathan David have quite a good dynamic together. But again, I have to admit I'm not totally sure where his best position is. Certainly not for the U.S. I guess I could say it's up in the air, but I personally think he would do better down the middle. A couple more things here, just wrapping it up. We didn't even have a shot on target against Panama. This was our first ever loss against Panama in a World Cup qualifying. And in fact, I heard I forget who said it. One of the guys commentating on the game I was watching on Paramount Plus, of course. He said that the U.S. has never lost a World Cup qualifier against Panama, and I remember hearing that and just. It's one of those things, man, where you just hear something like that and you think, well, why not today? As an Arsenal fan, I hear plenty of those stats, and historically, you hear a lot of stuff like that, and you just think, well, today's the day for breaking records, and why not? And as soon as that goal went in, it just didn't really seem like they had much left to go on for the rest of the game. So look, like I said, I'm going to make this pretty quick. Obviously, it's a disappointing result. We have Costa Rica tomorrow night. Costa Rica coming off a win, their first win so far, the World Cup qualifiers. I think, let me see here. I had it written down. Their, first win, 3 draws and a loss. And Costa Rica are going to be coming off that win. So, they're going to be looking to go forward with that momentum. And so there needs to be a strong side. Weston McKennie has to be starting. Ricardo Pepi has to be starting. Tyler Adams, put him in. Miles Robinson, Anthony Robinson, Sergio Dest. These are players that need to play. So if you were going to rest them because you took Panama for granted, or Berhalter had some, I know he spoke about taking risks, which it was a risk to rest 7 players to make 7 changes. U.S. aren't in a position to. Panama are in third place. They're tied on points. We're ahead by one goal on goal difference. So, they play Canada. So Canada are in 4th place. We're above them by 1 point, and Mexico can really start running away with this, and that first place is going to seem further and further in distance if we don't get a win against Costa Rica, and we are fully capable of doing so if we feel the strongest 11. I think even with the tactics the manager uses, I'm not one to say he should be in this job. I think there are better managers out there, of course. I think the project the U.S. has is an exciting one. I think you can bring in a coach who would be very interested in coaching this team. But he really has to turn things around, and the players have to man up and show that they want to be out there. It really reminded me of 4 years ago when we lost against Trinidad. These players were just, it didn't look like they wanted to be out there, and they're carrying this crest on their chest, and the names, their names on the back of these jerseys, and they should be out there playing for their country, and it looked like they were, pissing it away in a training session. That was the worst thing. There are ways to lose football games. And that's not a way to lose a football match, man, is just heads down and no real game plan. Of course, it's down to the manager. I would really would put it on him, but those players have quality enough to make a change themselves and make a difference. We should have at least scored 1 goal. I'm not going to say we were unlucky. I think Panama deserved the win. They were the better team for 90 minutes. They were a better team, and all the shit that they pulled at the end of the game, time wasting and. Look, I don't think the U.S. would go to the extent that they did. But look, this is CONCACAF, man. These teams are desperate for points. Panama making to the World Cup would be huge, for that side, and huge for the coach. I know everyone loves the coach over there in Panama. And the U.S., the expectations are much bigger for the U.S. I think the U.S. and Mexico have the most pressure on them. Of course, that comes with the territory. Yeah, we need to really shape up and get this win against Costa Rica. And we'll see what happens, man. Like I said, strong side. We need to be putting out our best players. I would expect those two, Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie, to come back into the midfield. That has to happen, barring some injury, COVID breach, something crazy that happens, and you need to field that team against Jamaica. Barring maybe one or two changes that may be necessary. But look, really, really important we get a result against Costa Rica, guys. I just want to say thank you for watching. If you have, I know this video was a little bit rambly, so excuse me for that. Of course, I took a little break. This past week I was away on holiday. Look, thank you guys very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll, of course, will be back to make a video tomorrow night, if not Thursday afternoon, on the result against Costa Rica, and then of course it'll be back to Arsenal videos. So if you are an Arsenal fan, USMNT team, national fan, please do consider giving me a comment or something. Follow me on Twitter. Let me know your thoughts there. Anything is appreciated, guys. I always say this. I would love to hear your thoughts. So if you would be open to a discussion with me of any sort, Twitter or in fact coming on here and we can talk, Discord or whatever it may be, I would be really excited to do that and try something new. I'm getting sick of staring at my face and hearing my voice. So that's the truth. So again, thanks guys for watching, and I will see you when I see you.